Look who's joined us. The Ayatollah of rock and rolla. Chris Jericho's back. What's up, man?
It always makes me laugh when I see you and do your show, because I still remember when you were just the lowly intern with like the sideshow bob hair, and now you're much more mature, and now you're the host of your own show, and you're on WWE and all that stuff. So congratulations, man.
I do love. There's a handful of guys that that have been doing the shows ever since then.
That's
and
right.
saw the but it went from sideshow bob hair to Art Garfunkel hair to no hair.
Yeah.
You know,
as soon as I saw him, like, oh, that kid's gonna lose his hair at some point.
yeah, we make the joy.
That's all right,
and it goes.
I feel that I'm one of the reasons why you've done as well as you have.
I think so.
I remember just being, there's Sam is here, and you had the thing is, you're very memorable.
That's good.
Yeah, so and here you are. So congratulations, man.
Are you ever back up in Canada? Do you spend any time up there, or like other than obviously like
Yeah, I mean, we're up there doing
stuff.
shows and stuff. Yeah, and my dad lives in Winnipeg, so I still go up there from time to time, maybe once a year or so.
Yeah.
But we're up there all the time, either with AEW or we shoot a lot of movies and TV up there now as well. So, yeah, it's always great to go back to Canada, especially we were just in Calgary, which is a blast. I got to reconnect with Bret Hart. I hadn't seen him for years.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's cool to see him again. But yeah, anytime you go up to that area, it's kind of like home for me.
Did you ever think that you would become, I mean, I'm assuming that you're even more of a Winnipeg legend because of the quote, "I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot." And the fact that that's lasted, like that's one of those.
It went viral for life. Yeah, that was, we were in Washington, D.C., and throw me one of those Kleenexes there.
Sure.
You want the real Chris Jericho? There you go. You got it. Yeah, so we were in Washington, D.C., thank you. And I was working with The Undertaker and Big Show. We had a three-way match for whatever. And I got Taker outside, and I throw him in the ring, and somebody else would be, "Go back to Toronto." Now, pause the movie. I'm thinking a few things here. One, how is that an insult? Two, I'm from Canada, but you assume I'm from Toronto, which is also wrong.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot. And then suddenly, as people do, they get this 3-second clip, and they're posting it everywhere, the early days of Twitter, whatever it was, and suddenly it becomes a thing. "I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Kurt Angle about the fact that like he works his whole life. He has this great wrestling career. He wins an Olympic gold medal in '96, and there's still thousands of people that just know him from his memes of the guy like looking with the 1,000-yard stare. Once it's a meme, it just hits on a different level.
And there's another one that's a meme with me with the big long old school computer paper from the list.
Yeah.
And they'll you insert caption here. That one's all over the place as well, where people don't even know who this guy is.
Right.
They're just holding a long list of a long paper with a big list on it. So yeah, it's funny how society decides what's going to become a thing or not.
Yeah, you used to think you'd have to have this like spectacular match or make this spectacular album, and that's how you live forever.
Yeah,
not the case.
You just have to say, "I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot,"
and it'll never ever go away.
That's right.
I saw you post that you had to take a helicopter.
Yeah.
To get to the Terrifier 3 premiere.
Yeah.
Where was the helicopter coming from?
So once again, this is not Chris Jericho being a big shot. Like there was a unfortunate list of circumstances that led me to be late for this. I had a very crazy day yesterday where if all the dominoes were in a row and if all the fruit lined up, I could do all these things.
Right.
Of course, there's always plane delays. There's that sort of stuff. So the delayed plane was going to screw up me going to this premiere in New York City of Terrifier 3. I did not order the chopper. Somebody else did, but I'll tell you this. When I landed the plane in Teterboro, I didn't land it. I wasn't flying the plane, but when the plane landed, and there's a chopper right next to the plane with the blades whirling, it was like, dude, I feel like I'm in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
go.
Yeah. And literally that's what it was. So I get off the one plane, get onto the helicopter, put the cans on like we have now, and literally a minute later, it lifts up. I went from Teterboro across the Hudson River. It took literally 3 minutes.
Wow.
It would have taken 60 minutes by
Easily.
car. So it was one of those cool moments. And of course, the first thing you do nowadays is you film it on your phone.
Got to.
For the TikTok. And it was just one of those things like, this is really cool. Like, once again, not being a jerk, but very humbly saying this, it's a pretty cool thing when you land plane, get on a chopper that's waiting for you to take you to the premiere of a movie that you're in Times Square.
Yeah.
That's one of those moments, like, I never take that for granted. That was pretty effing cool.
And I love, too, that you still think all that stuff is cool. Like, I love that, like...
Yeah, if you don't think that's cool, then you're an asshole.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
Yes.
I don't care if you're Mick Jagger. That still is pretty cool stuff.
This is not normal on any level.
It's not normal, yeah. And once again, that's why I was like, I really want, like, the Terrifier people, like the publicist, I was like, I'm going to be there in 10 minutes. She's like, dude, we just saw that, like, we're waiting for you. we appreciate the effort, you know? And that, yeah, like I said, I still really take great pride in those things and think it's pretty amazing.
Do you think that's the wrestler in you, the need to make the town? Like, there is this version where it's like, you know, you don't have to go to the Terrifier 3 premiere.
Yeah.
It's great if you're there, but if you got this, that, I'm not going to make the premiere. And there's a lot of people that would go, plane's delayed, I'm not going to make it. But that is that wrestling thing where you make your towns.
There is. And listen, too, let's be honest, Sam, like, it's not like I'm Brad Pitt that's had 100 different, premieres. Like, it's a pretty important thing to be, in New York City for a premiere of a movie that you're in. So
you think it's cool?
It's very cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to come at all. Like, I had 2 days off this week. Birmingham with Fozzy on Monday, Greenville, South Carolina with Fozzy on Thursday. 2 days off in the middle. Most people would probably just want to relax. No, like, I had an opportunity to do a roundtable discussion with some NHL Hall of Famers in Atlanta. That came up in between the Terrifier thing. So, okay, I'll drive from Birmingham to Atlanta. I'll do the panel. I've got this window of time that I can make it to New York, once again, if anything doesn't get delayed. So that's why this whole thing with the chopper happened, was because Birmingham, Atlanta to New York, press in Atlanta before I did the show, press today. I mean, all of this stuff, you can't complain about being busy in the best possible way.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
How do you hang on to that stuff, though? I mean, most people have a problem remembering, okay, this is all the stuff you wanted to do when you were a kid.
Yeah.
If you, as a kid, could see yourself now, you go, of course you got to go to the NHL roundtable. You loved hockey. Of course you got to go to the premiere. You're in a horror movie, and it's premiering in New York City. Like, yeah. But most people get to an age and experience enough stuff like you have. That's the other thing. You've experienced so much as it is that, like, you lose that perspective.
But I think, honestly, most people don't get a chance to do those things because most people aren't as fortunate as you and I are to be living this dream that we had as kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you wanted to be doing what you're doing.
I mean,
dreams of. I know you are, because when you were a kid as an intern getting me coffee.
Yeah.
And you didn't even get me a coffee today, which shows you've really gone big bougie.
I'm too big for that.
You're big time for that. But I mean, so most people don't get a chance to live that dream.
Yeah.
So because and listen, there's a lot of fortune involved and luck involved, but it's also a lot of hard work. If you make a movie and you want people to know that you're doing it, you got to promote it.
Yeah.
I've been in this Sirius building. If it's not 200 times, it's pretty close to it. And I hope to be here for another 200 times to continue to promote whatever it is that I'm doing. So I never take that for granted, ever. I don't take it for granted wrestling a match.
Yeah.
Every single match that I have is still a bonus and amazing. Coming to New York City a couple weeks ago for Arthur Ashe and doing the match that we had there, like, it all matters. I will never phone anything in. And the moment I'll phone something in, I won't do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting in wrestling to watch you now because you're not only are you not relying on stuff from the past, you could, and it would be easier. The fans would be like, yep, this is familiar. This is the Jericho we know and love. He could just do that.
Right.
And you're still trying new things, which at times fans get, fans don't get, and you're pushing forward with it.
Well, I mean, the whole Learning Tree character came because fans, there's a certain segment of fans that just decided they hate me now because I'm still here. And it's like, I mean, and that's fine, but no one has ever told me what to do. When I first told people I wanted to get into wrestling, they said, "You'll never do that." And I realized other people's opinions don't matter. All that matters is what I can bring to the table. So the learning tree was a direct response to those people that, please retire and you get the hell out of here and you're just taking up TV time and the Jericho vortex of burying young talent. All this stuff. It's absolutely preposterous because if you know anything about the business, I've done nothing but the opposite. But if that's what you think about me, then I'll embrace it. Yes, I will make the Jericho Vortex part of the show. Yes, I will demand more TV time. Hell, I'll even create a segment called TV Time. Yeah. You want to fuck around with me? I call the shots.
Yeah.
You want to chant, please retire? Sure you want me to retire because you want me to go play center for the New York Rangers, hoping they'll win another Stanley Cup. Ain't going to happen. Not even the great Chris Jericho can do that. I'm ready for anything. And now the learning tree has become a guy.
Yeah.
Like, the guy who got the clicking of a pen over now got a wave and a hi guys over.
Hi guys.
Does that surprise anybody? This
Right.
is just what I do. I can read the room. So, yes, you have to evolve and you have to constantly change if you want to stay relevant. And so I take great pride in that. And when the time comes for me to retire, I will know, and I will. But for right now, I'm still enjoying what I'm doing, still contributing at a high level, still drawing ratings and helping guys get confidence and get better. That's what my job is.
And telling new stories.
And telling new stories. Exactly. Yeah. And once again, I'm not on TV every week because I demand to be. I'm on TV every week because my boss pays me to be on TV and wants me on TV. So I show up for work.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, what an asshole I am, right? Sorry, Tony Khan. I'm not showing up for TV because these people don't want me on TV. This little contingent of people.
Yeah. And I'm sure you didn't know at the time how smart it would be, but jumping into Terrifier 2.
Right.
Right? Because, and people, Terrifier has become such a big franchise.
Yes.
And we had Damien on last week. We were talking about it. Everybody knows what a massive fan I am of the whole franchise and the genre. But, like, you jumping into Terrifier 2 was just kind of a fun thing because it was like, oh, Jericho's in this. This is a tiny movie. Terrifier 1 was, like, just for us, like, horror geeks. Terrifier 2, I thought was going to be just for us horror geeks. And then it becomes this massive, like, it brings this level of gore into the mainstream that really hasn't been there in a very long time. But now you end up as a part of Terrifier 3, which is going to be a huge movie because you did this scene in Terrifier 2.
It's interesting. It's kind of one of those happy accidents. So I discovered Terrifier on the bus, on the Fozzy bus. Rich Ward, my partner in Fozzy, was like, you got to watch this movie. I'm like, oh, a killer clown movie? So original, whatever. And then I watched it, and right out of the gate, I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
And it's gritty, and it's disgusting. But not only that, not only was it depraved, but the character of Art the Clown was so creepy to me because this is a guy, unlike other serial killers in the movies, you don't have to go to the forest to find him. You don't go to a small town in Texas or go to sleep in a dream. He can walk into a diner,
Right.
a costume shop in Terrifier 3, walk into a bar,
Right.
and there he is, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is real.
Yeah, he follows you home.
He follows you home. So I started really trumpeting its praises on my podcast and to all my horror movie fans and friends. And that's how I got connected with David Howard Thornton, who plays Art, and then with Damien. And Damien was like, we got to have you in Terrifier 2. You're like, sure. We got to tour together. Every band says that.
Yeah.
But he called me to be in 2, and we worked it out. It was during lockdown, during COVID. It still worked out great. But what people don't know is that ending was far longer, that scene. And had a whole involved scene with myself and Samantha, Victoria, and Leah, who played the nurse. But the problem was the ending that we shot for that movie, because it was delayed due to the COVID and lockdown, the exact same ending by coincidence happened in a movie called Malignant. The exact same thing where there's a face on the back of the head.
Yeah.
Well, Victoria's head was going to turn around and Art's head was going to be in the back of her head.
Wow.
So there was a whole segment that we filmed with biting off fingers and blood and everything. It all got cut out because Damien called me and was like, dude, this is the worst. Like, I was like, oh, no one's going to care about Malignant, and no one does now. But at the time, it was a thing.
It was big at the time. Yeah,
Yes,
it was streaming, and it was the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's like, I got to reshoot the ending. I was like, okay, like if you have to cut me out, I understand. He's like, nah. So it actually, I was just talking to Samantha about this last night. if it wasn't for that Malignant coming out, we might not have been in 3, but he had to continue the story, not just with me, but with Victoria, who's the girl who has no face, gets his face eaten off in the 1. So 2, having this reshoot actually ended up being very fortunate for her. And I, she's throughout the whole movie. She's a main character.
Yeah.
And I've got a great death scene. Spoiler alert. No surprise there. But yeah, if it wasn't for 2 landing the way it did, there wouldn't be 3. But also, like you mentioned, 2 became such a massive hit because somebody puked in the theater.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because originally it was supposed to be in the theater for 1 week, special engagement. Somebody pukes, it goes viral, someone passes out. Now they're talking about it on The View. Now it's in USA Today. Now it's on Extra.
Yeah.
And it ended up making $15 million on a $250,000 budget. For the bean counters in Hollywood, that's a huge box office.
Right.
So you knew 3 was going to be poised for huge success.
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine that.
Crazy. And I love it for horror because I'm like...
It's great for horror, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like a horror junkie from, for years and years and years.
Me too, which is why I loved the whole concept of the franchise in the first place. So it's really cool to see that.
So then for you, because I figured you were a horror junkie, and when I saw your death scene, I went for a horror junkie. This is like...
Yeah.
This is it, because that's what you want, right? You're like, you want the most gruesome, memorable, insane death scene. Did you have any sort of word into how it would go, or was it just like, here's what we're doing with you? And you were like, cool.
No, I did. We had a couple, actually, Damien and I came up with a really great idea for 2 that he didn't use. But for 3, it was one of those things I was just glad to be asked to be a part of it. And it was really weird because, once again, almost like the Chopper story yesterday, we filmed this in a I think it's not abandoned, but it's formerly some kind of a mental institution in Staten Island. And they had it for 1 day. And they literally called me a week before and said, here's the day, we need you on this day. And we were about to do a Fozzy tour. And it was one of those ones where it's like, what am I going to do? And I was able to work it where we filmed all night. And then I was able to make a 5 o'clock flight to London from New York or whatever it was. Thank goodness we filmed in New York because there's some options. But don't tell me that it's not going to work. Let's figure out a way to make it work.
Right.
So I didn't really know exactly what we were going to do. Prior to that, once Damien came up with the idea, I went to LA and they did a digital scan of my head, which back in the day, and some of the people did do it for Terrifier, they put the mold, the plaster.
Yeah, what do they call it, like a death mask or a living mask?
Where you're sitting there, you can't see or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do that. This was similar to being in a video game. They scan your face or an action figure.
Right.
And then it looks like your face. So I show up on set and there's this bust of my head. It looks just like me and it feels like skin. Ooh. There's even some whiskers on it. But it's me. And it was like, this is really creepy. We do the scene. As you watched it, you see me. It's very violent, yes. And then they cut, and then they put this head in there, and then they proceed to rip the jaw off. And I'm standing right behind the camera watching, and this jaw is it's sticking. It's hard to pull off. The skin is stretching and snapping, but it's me. And I'm watching, guys, I'm right here. This is really fucking creepy to watch this.
Yeah.
But, to see it on camera, and I thought, this is such a great death. Now, in Terrifier, it's a good death. It's not the best one in the movie. Maybe not even top 10. There's so many great kills in it.
Yeah.
But still, it is a cool kill. And it's the ultimate appreciation where fans clapped last night in the theater.
Oh, they did?
Yes, they clapped when I had my big kill scene.
That's a beautiful moment.
It's a beautiful moment.
Yes,
like I said, this is She Said by the Beatles. If any other band released this song, it'd be the #1 hit. For the Beatles, it's one of the top 40.
Yeah.
So my kill's one of the top 20 in the movie, so I'll take it.
Yeah, this is Terrifier. The Terrifier franchise is like the Beatles of kills.
Yes. If this was in any other horror movie, it'd be the kill of the movie, not in this one.
What was it? Was there a franchise or a movie that made you kind of fall in love with horror movies, or made you a fan?
So when you're a kid, the movies that you see at that time frame that impact you stick with you for your whole life. So for me, Damien, Omen 2.
Yes.
They showed it a lot on TV in Winnipeg. I think it's back then you had 3 channels, and they would take a movie and they would show the shit out of it
just
4 times. And I remember just being so affected by that because I was about the same age as Damien was, and I just thought wow, I could be the Antichrist, or what if someone in my school is the Antichrist? And I got really into that.
Yeah.
And I still watch that movie annually, and it still freaks me out. It's pretty campy if you've never seen it, but for me, I'll never forget it. So that one always sticks in my mind.
Yeah.
And then the next one, I mean, we used to have we called it the Cheap Ass Club. We'd look for cheap horror movies, and there used to be this convenience store that had like a book rack, but it was all video cassettes, and they were all really cheesy horror movies. So we went through all of those. Like Sleepaway Camp 2 was amazing. Basket Case, Gates of Hell.
Yes.
I mean, Fulci Zombie. Those were like part of our DNA. So I've loved those movies since then and to this day.
Yeah, those are the movies that like. That's the only reason why I'm still buying like physical media.
Yeah,
because you can't. There's no like streamer is going to pick it up. Nobody even knows who owns the rights to anything. Like you just have to find it on a disc and just hold on to it because those are the types of movies that could just kind of disappear.
Well, yeah, and thankfully most of them have surfaced somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so many great horror movies, and that's one thing I love right now. There's a great horror resurgence that's going on. I'm assuming it's probably because they're cheap to make. But to me, it's so hard to do something different, but yet people are still finding ways. Like, I'm still not sure how I feel about In a Violent Nature. Have you seen it?
I have.
Yeah. I don't know if I like it or not, but I can't stop thinking about it, so that tells me that I like it.
That's my test too. I'll watch a movie and go like, I was bored in parts, that was lame, and I'm thinking about it the next day, and I'm thinking about it the next day, and I'm like, oh, it was really good.
And I'm analyzing it.
Yeah.
And, I like that, that appeals me. Barbarian was great in that sort of a way. So, I mean, have you seen The Substance yet?
No, this is the movie. I've been waiting to see The Substance.
Yeah.
Travis saw it, and he was like, yeah, you got to see it because I want to hear.
Yeah.
That's what I love. When people go, no, I want you to see it because I just want to hear what you think.
It's pretty great. Mm-hmm. But once again, like, just appear. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh, The Substance. Never heard of it before. Had no idea they were making it. I'm a Demi Moore fan. Like, how did I not hear about this? And then you watch, it's like they're still creating original material. Yes. And that's so impressive to me. So it's a good time for horror.
Yeah, Barbarian was one of those interesting ones because it is so kind of different and unexpected that you don't really know how you feel about it by the end.
Yeah.
But I realized like slowly, like there was then one day I'm in the mood to watch Barbarian. That's interesting. Yeah. I put it back on and now it's like a top 10 movie for me.
I just love it because it comes from, like, Justin Long's like, what is this guy? And then at the end when he gets his just due, you're like, like you're actually excited, but and that's what movies are all about. And to me, like, and this is not saying in a bad way, but there's so many Marvel movies and superhero movies. I'm not a fan of them. Mm-hmm. I just find them very cookie cutter.
Same.
So when you get these original horror ideas that come out, I'm like, wow, I'm really excited about the future of that side of things, at least.
Well, Chris, it's always great catching up with you, man. I'm happy for you with everything going on. Terrifier 3, go see the movie in studios, in theaters. Fozzy is all over the place. Actually, Thursday, the Gramercy Theater here in New York City.
October 17th, that's right. Yeah.
Yes. Then the Foundry in Philly, then on to Columbus, on to Flint, Michigan, on to Cleveland. I mean, Fozzy is coming to town. Here's the thing about Chris Jericho. You put on a show.
That's the idea,
man.
Like I said, what are you? I'm an entertainer, and we always want people to have a great time, anything that I do, so.